Okay, last question. Nick Sorensen. Do you stick with Nick Sorensen, or do you try and get a Robert Saleh, or you get just another defensive coordinator in here? For me, he's got to go. He has got to go. God bless him. It's just you can't roll with a first-year coordinator and trying to get your team back to the Super Bowl. What do you do with Nick Sorensen? Would you stick with him, or would you go elsewhere?
What I think happened with Nick Sorensen in the first place was that Shanahan had been leaning away from Steve Wilkes for a while. He just didn't mesh with the staff. Remember, Steve Wilkes didn't hire his own staff there. So I believe that there was dysfunction, and that's what we kind of heard from a couple of different people, is that there was dysfunction between Steve Wilkes and the staff. There was dysfunction in that Steve Wilkes wanted to run things his way and didn't want to run the 49ers defense. And we saw that when they would have a break and they would reset, they would look really good, and then they would just progressively get worse each week. And so we're looking at it with, Steve Wilkes. It wasn't a great fit. Was it the wrong move to fire Steve Wilkes? I don't think so. But the problem was that coming off the Super Bowl and just going, this really did not work out. Bless Steve Wilkes, move on. You did that without a plan to replace him, without a solid plan. You thought, well, maybe we could get Jeff Ulbrich over here, but they weren't going to allow a lateral move. And so what it reminds me of is when Norv Turner left in 2006 in April, and there was no solid plan for replacing him, and they promoted Jim Hostler to offensive coordinator.
Oh.
And
why did you say that name? No, he was the worst. That guy was
what
awful.
This reminds me of. That's what this reminds me of.
He had 1 year as a coordinator at Akron. I was like, now he's an NFL offensive coordinator. Like, what? That's the same
he was
as
the quarterback's coach, and they needed to fill that.
That's
that
like Jeep Christ.
So
I was like, oh.
They promoted him from within. And that was the plan. And that's what I just feel like the Nick Sorensen thing was, is that you didn't have a solid plan you just knew that this wasn't working, and you didn't have a solid plan there, and you promoted somebody to failure. And that's where I feel bad. Jim Hostler, if you actually look, he's had a successful coaching career after that. He got canned as offensive coordinator, then he went back to college, and he was there, went around different places as quarterbacks coach, and I think wide receivers coach, and offensive coordinator a couple places, and he was back in the NFL as a quarterbacks coach for at a few different stops.
But Nick Sorensen, would you keep him?
But Nick Sorensen, I don't keep him because I think you promoted him to the point of failure. And so, for me, I think now you have two solid options. And you can go into this offseason and say, we have option A and option B, and whatever we got to do to make one of these two happen, we make happen. Option A, Robert Saleh. If I'm Shanahan, I have been texting him and saying, what's up, buddy? Really appreciated you when you were here. Hope, I've got maybe some interesting new shaving cream you should try, to keep things shiny. Just want to chat. I would have been doing that since he got fired. Been texting him every single week. Not about a job, just, two buddies chatting and stuff. Because he's a consultant. He's not on somebody's staff. So you can text him all you want. And I would be messaging him and I would be leaning hard. And if you can't get him, you go for Jeff Ulbrich. Jeff Ulbrich is going to, because I don't think either one of those guys is going to get a head coaching look for the next 10 years. Just with the way things have gone in New York. And I think Saleh is the more likely to not get another head coaching look for 10 years. So what we see in Kansas City is that Steve Spagnuolo has been there for 13 years.
Yeah, that's what we need. Something like that.
We need that. We just need to stop the revolving door of people, because what that means is that Steve Spagnuolo has been developing their assistant coaching staff on the defensive side for 13 years.
That's crazy.
His assistants know him. He knows his assistants. The scouting staff knows Steve Spagnuolo and knows what he wants out of players. So it creates a lot of cohesiveness. You need that. You need the scouting department to get input from Robert Saleh for the next 5 years, not from Robert Saleh 1 year, then D'Amico Ryans for 2 years, then Steve Wilkes the next year, then Nick Sorensen the next year, because you need to find players that fit what you want to do.
Whoever they get next, they have to pay this person handsomely. I would tell
It's
Robert
be over $1
Saleh,
million a year.
dude, I would tell Robert Saleh, hey, I will pay you as much as a head coach because I want you here for a long time. I don't want you to come here for 1 year and then take off. No, I want you here for the long haul, and I'll pay you handsomely to stay here because it doesn't hit their cap. It doesn't come out of their player salary.
The interesting part there is that you could really upset a lot of you could really upturn the apple cart there because I
don't care. You have to have some stability
there. Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like the bigger thing, one thing I would just wonder is how in the world has Steve Spagnuolo not gotten another head coaching look? Like, I mean, I get things were disastrous.
Maybe he doesn't want to go. Maybe he wants to stay there.
It's a lot of money. I mean, like
what's his name? Eric Bieniemy. He left Kansas City, which I was like, he's like, I just wanted a new challenge. I'm like, what?
Well,
they had both those guys.
He needed to prove that it wasn't Andy Reid that was drawing up all the plays. Then
where is he now? Where's he now?
Yeah.
Still,
but anyways, like. There is the interesting conundrum of offsetting language. So, do you bring Robert Saleh in for $3 million a year when for the next 2 years the Jets are going to be paying him $8 million? And when you pay him $3 million, that means that the Jets, all that means is that Robert Saleh is going to make the same amount of money, but the Jets pay less of it. Like that's sometimes what it means. Like, so I mean, that's not really going to be your selling point. The selling point would be, we're going to only give you a 2-year contract right now, so that the moment your offsets expire, we're going to make you the highest paid defensive coordinator.
There you go.
That's how I do it.